Right, and team, like always, if you can like, subscribe, do anything to keep me getting this content out there to you good folk, it'd be much appreciated. So in this episode, I'm going to take a look at the 4 non-negotiables that I implement into my best lessons to make it run smoothly, make it productive, and make it the best student learning experience. It wasn't something that came overnight, definitely took time to get there, but these 4 things, or these 4 non-negotiables, has helped me get to where I need to be in teaching. So the first non-negotiable, clarity of purpose. Have an objective each lesson in your head, okay? Usually it's going to tell you, a student teacher's going to tell you to have that lesson objective on the board. At the very least, do this, okay? Have it broke down the lesson into segment blocks. If it's an hour lesson, I try to work off 3 segments. Your first 10 to 15 minutes, your next set, and then you're finishing your activity or you're finishing processes. Okay, factor in either side of that. How students are getting into the classroom, how students are packing up, and everything like that as well. Okay, those directions, that purpose sets where you're going for the lesson, what we're doing, and what the students need to know. Okay, there will be lessons where it goes off track, where it goes off path, but most of the time, and the more you get used to bringing the students back and having a direction to follow, the better it's going to be. Okay. Non-negotiable number 2, have a predictable structure. So it follows on from the point above. Understand that how the students are going to enter the room. Okay, if you line students up, if you greet students at the door, my personal preference is to get the students in as soon as possible. Get them seated, have something there that they can do. Okay, multiple entry level, gets harder, starts easy, whatever it happens to be, so students aren't wasting any time being distracted, getting off task, and then, most of the time causing behaviour issues. Okay, have students in seating plans to start with. Have the students trained to what to expect when they enter the class. No running, no shouting and screaming. Here's the work to do, here's what's expected, or here's the activity. Now, it's not going to be perfect to start with, it's not going to be perfect all the time, but it is something you can train as you go. Have regular checkpoints for yourself as well. Okay, have your watch, some kind of looking at the clock mechanism to track how you're going. Okay, it's 5 minutes into the lesson, it's still chaos. Then you get my act together here. It's 10 minutes into the lesson, students are progressing well. Do I need to slow down, explain a few things, check for understanding? Okay, it's 30 minutes into the lesson, I thought it was going to be 2 more content items in. Okay, whatever it happens to be, have those checkpoints installed and have them consistent for every lesson. Okay, that way you're training yourself to stay on track as well. An hour or whatever the lessons happen to be, but for me, most of my lessons are an hour. It can be a long time. Okay, it takes a while, but you have things there and structures in place. It's definitely going to help you out. Okay, then have a reliable pack-up routine as well, a reflection. Okay, whether it's an exit strategy, how you're going to leave the room. I get my students to stand behind the chairs and make sure, all rubbish and stuff is in the bin. Now, that's not something that comes easily. I mean, that takes weeks at the start of the year to train. But I know putting in the work in the short term is going to lead to better outcomes towards the end of the year. And you're also setting up the students for success in their life as well. Okay, accountability, responsibility, all that good stuff. Non-negotiable number 3, have an active presence. Don't just get into the class, set the class and go, all right, we're doing questions 1 to 48, whatever happens to be. Okay, have your lesson chunked up and then make sure if you're not at the board, you're not explaining stuff, you're walking around, talking to students, okay, checking for understanding. Remember, you don't have to have the most quiet class to be the most effective. Sure, there's going to be times where you need the students to focus, and build their attention spans, but there's also times you got to make allowances for noise, okay, and students talking to one another. Now, that's not saying that students are going to be sitting there throwing planes at one another, pencils and doing nothing, but there will be times in the lesson to facilitate discussion amongst peers or students. Okay, now, in that active time as a teacher, okay, it might be that the students are working on the content, okay, and understanding, asking questions about that. Depending on how diverse your class is with student needs, it might also be just some well-being checks. Okay, your harder students or your more difficult students, what's going on, building that rapport, how's sport on the weekend, how's this going. Building that rapport all the time is going to help you be more effective as well. Okay, and again, it's everything. It's setting those strong foundations for you as a teacher to then have a template you can implement anywhere. Okay, and that's where you can build on the real student success. Yeah, and then I guess, circulate intentionally. Don't just stand at one side of the room. Don't just stand at the whiteboard. Don't sit at your desk, check your emails unless it's urgent. Make sure you're actively involved in the lesson. And my final one, non-negotiable number 4, student thinking is visible. So your best lessons are full of student voices. Now, depending on your subject, that might range. Okay, I'm a math teacher. Sometimes students aren't the most confident in mathematics, but just to explain their thinking, how they reach an answer, doesn't have to be the right answer, but just their thinking behind it can be critical to checking on their learning, but then checking if I'm teaching the correct way as well, or teaching it the most effective way. Am I speaking too fast? Am I speaking too slow? Do I breeze over the content? Is there enough structure? All that feedback from students is going to get me and them onto the right path. Use whiteboards or quick polls. Mini whiteboards changes, just by rolling out those mini whiteboards, I reckon engages students by 10%, 15% more, just by them having a different way to record their thoughts. The think, pair, share, or get students explaining to each other. Okay, one of my phrases I've used over the past is, it's not me being a lazy teacher, but the more you can teach each other or explain to each other, that's where the learning really sinks in. Obviously I'm here to guide you and teach you new concepts and teach you and revise, but the deeper level of thinking comes from you guys doing and working with one another. Okay, so finally, my wrap up and reflection. Have clarity and purpose. Have a predictable structure. Have an active presence, and then visible thinking as well. Guys, if you've got any comments down below, please make sure you add. If you can follow us on Coffee and Whiteboard, Mark, it'd be much appreciated. Like always, appreciate your time.